This week, it wouldn't be RV Miles and it wouldn't be Jason and Abby if something dramatic didn't happen. We've been gone for a little bit, maybe you've noticed. So we are going to recap on this episode what the last 2 or 3 weeks has looked like for us. Plus, we've got our Fresh Tank Black Tank and just a little bit of news for you. This is RV Miles.
This podcast is sponsored by LL Bean, who makes it easy and fun to simply step outside. That might mean breaking a speed record in a rugged built-for-fun Sonic snow tube, walking an extra block in a warm, weather-resistant down jacket, or just taking a breath on your doorstep before cozying up in a quilted sweatshirt. For however you experience the outdoors, shop clothing and gear at llbean.com. Be an outsider.
Welcome to episode 234 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are 2 full-time travelers who, along with our 3 boys, have been crisscrossing North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from RV news to travel destinations, our national parks, and so much more.
I am, if I'm in a bit of the deeper radio voice today, I'm recovering from pneumonia, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess what? Surprise alert. I don't know that at this point there's too many people who didn't know that. We did finally share at least late last week when we got an official diagnosis of it.
I had just fever day after day, and I thought it was COVID. Took a COVID test, didn't come back positive, and just didn't know what it was, and the fevers just kept coming, and they were strong, and then they would break, and I would have these awful sweats where I'd drench my clothes like 30 times a day.
So if you keep talking about this, which we totally can, what do you want to talk about in the B block? Because you're about to just...
Oh, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about. This isn't even the beginning of it.
No.
Anyway, so I had pneumonia. I went to the hospital. They diagnosed it. Didn't stay. They gave me some meds. I'm recovering, and I'm doing a lot better, but I got a cough, and I've got...
You're still... Yeah. You still get a little exhausted from time to time. If I sound like I am working in a lower register, it is not because I have pneumonia. It is because of what is going to be my fresh tank. I will talk about that in a little bit. But I thought, and we kind of thought, we would just, as we get into this episode, because it's sort of like trying to get our legs back a little bit, sitting back down here and trying to do this feels a little weird after almost 3 weeks away.
We have been trying to dribble out the content that we can. We put out a news episode on the National Parks podcast, as well as a video that was sort of part of that, not the full news, but covering the proposed fees coming to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We actually happened to be in the Great Smoky Mountains, which was a great part of our last few weeks as well. But they are proposing parking fees at all the parking areas in the park because they can't charge an admission fee into the park. And they were having a public comment period, which is over now. But you can expect next year that there will be parking fees. And they're talking about reducing the available parking in the park as well.
So we didn't talk too much about our own kind of personal thoughts on this in the news video. It's not really something we touch on a lot, but I thought it might be interesting maybe to touch on a few things that stood out to us. And I think the one thing, there's 2 for me. One, the no longer allowing roadside parking, which I understand the reason for, but we already have an issue in this park with being able to park.
Yeah, I would guess that half of the parking in the park is people parking on the roadside.
Yeah, and someone in the comments on YouTube left a suggestion, and my first reaction was, I think that is a great idea. And what they said was, why are you not metering the parking that you have? And then that way the person who gets the actual parking spot gets to pay for it. And if you can't find parking, then what is the point of being able to buy a parking pass? So let's say you buy this parking pass, right? Like you buy it for the year or whatever, and you go into the park, you're on your vacation, and you're not getting there in enough time to do these hikes. And we saw that time and time and time and time again as we were driving to Cades Cove, as we were doing the Motor Ford Truck River. What is the name of it?
Roaring Fork Motor Nature Trail.
Thank you. As we were doing, that is not the easiest name to remember. But I kept thinking to myself, how does this work if you pay for this and then you really you genuinely don't get to use it because there's nowhere to park?
Yeah,
so why not meter it?
There's a lot of problems in that park with the number of people that go there and the very limited services and parking facilities available. They've got to do something. I think maybe this is going to help somewhat, but it is going to continue to be a challenge for them. It's not going to solve the problem, I don't think.
No, and I'm not sure yet how I feel about any pass, the America the Beautiful Pass, Access Pass, Senior Pass, all of that. None of that would apply to this fee. And I'm back and forth on that. I'm not going to say I disagree or agree with it, but I feel like in a way it concerns me that this could open up a door to more fees like this that the pass will stop covering.
At other parks, yeah.
Right. And then that really does price out a lot. It can potentially price out a demographic that
and the fees,
should be able to enjoy the parks.
The parking fees are fairly affordable, but they're going to have to come up with some other things, though. And I think, maybe they can consider doing a fee to drive the Cades Cove Loop. Stuff like that might make a little bit more sense. Timed entry for Cades Cove, for sure.
A timed entry for Cades
But
Cove.
it is a problem because the park is on the border of two states, and it is a major route between the two states, goes right through it, and all that sort of stuff. So they have a lot of challenges ahead of them at Great Smoky Mountains National Park.
A lot. And I think proposed parking fee really actually means parking fee.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
There's no other way around it. So we do have that. You can listen to the whole national park news over on the America's National Parks podcast, or if you just want to snippet the history of the park, why they can't charge an entrance fee, and then also what this proposed is about, you can go over to our YouTube video and watch that. And then while you're over there, you should check out as well a video we did several weeks ago before things got a little bit crazy, and we have been wanting to talk about for a while now. And that is an article and a video we did on 6 upgrades that you should expect to make almost immediately after purchasing your RV.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a couple of them right here, and then you can watch the video to check out all of them. And the major one that I think a lot of people should consider, especially if they're going to use their RV a lot. If you don't use it that often, maybe it's not as big of a deal. Or if you have a really high-end RV, you probably already have a good one of these. And that's an RV mattress replacement. Yes. And we got a great mattress. We partnered with RVMattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. They sent us their Wanderlust mattress, which is just great. We were able to receive it in a campground, unbox it in the RV, have it open up inside the RV. And you don't think about that being such a big deal, because when we bought we put our queen mattress into our bus conversion, that was one of the hardest things the two of us have ever done together, was pull that thing in there.
Told you that thing was going to come out in pieces if it ever had to leave. I was going to take a chainsaw to it. And, even so, when we were in the trailer, we upgraded the mattress as well. That mattress was considerably heavier than the one that we got from RVMattress.com and much more cumbersome. And it also happened at a time like you were in the hospital, or I think actually out, and we were at the hotel at the time, and I had ordered this new mattress. And that got me thinking that we ordered that mattress while you were recovering so you could come home and have a nice...
You're talking about 2019.
2019,
Just to be clear, you're not talking about my recovery from this...
No. Yeah.
This time.
How many conversations about no cardia can we have? So this is 2019. And then I was realizing just now as we were talking, we just got this new mattress here in 2022 from RVMattress.com. and we were able to get the Wonderlust, a 10-inch, which is what we needed because we have a slide that comes over the bed. We get the mattress, and because our RV mattress we'd had on there with the topper, that was trashed. Your side was just
the topper. So we bought a really nice topper, and the topper was trashed.
Your side was a hot mess. It looked like a giant U. Thank goodness we had that, because just a couple months later, there you were again needing a comfortable.
I spent about a week straight in bed.
Yeah. And once again, dealing with a bacterial with nocardia, essentially.
Well, it's probably a different bacteria, but
maybe
bacterial infection. Yes.
Who knows? I mean, I just think it's constantly going to be coming at us. But then once again, we replaced the mattress just almost in time for you to be able to have a comfortable and safe place that we could put you and let you be and recuperate in the comfort of your own home. And I think, that speaks to, if your mattress is uncomfortable, and I'm not saying you're going to get, a brain infection or pneumonia or something like that, but to replace it so that when you do have those moments when you're stuck in that bed a whole lot longer than you want to be, is worth its weight in gold. It really, really is.
I want to add to that, if you're of the camp that feels that you can't do a memory foam mattress, they're too hot, they're too hard, that sort of stuff, they're not hard enough, they're too soft, take a look at some of the new memory foam mattresses out there. They are a lot better than they used to be. This one is not hot at all. I have not felt that way at all.
And it's considerably light. As well, too. And, we did have to, because we went with the 10-inch, we did have to remove the bottom piece of trim on our wardrobe, and we're going to cut that down to fit, because in order for the, an 8-inch mattress, for those of you, and we've had a lot of questions from people looking at the 37 FLL and wondering how we did this, the 8-inch, the slide would have come over perfect. But we felt as full-timers, we should go up to the 10-inch, and we could. I wish we could have gone to, 12.
Yeah.
But if we removed that piece of trim, we could make it work.
But that's one of the great things about working with a company like Brooklyn Bedding at RVMattress.com, because you can choose so many different sizes. You could go out, in a lot of RVs, you could go out and just buy a queen or king mattress from Sears or whatever store. Does Sears exist anymore? I don't know.
Sears. Wow, Jason, you just totally dated yourself.
You can go buy a mattress and put it in, sure. But often they are unique sizes. And for instance, ours is a short king. And we could put a full king in, but it sort of gets floppy on the end of the bed. And having the short RV king size in allows us to have extra foot room for walking around the bed, and then we can choose that thickness. They have 8 inches available, 10 inches available,
okay, 12 and 14.
Available. Yeah, so you have lots of different options, and they'll make whatever size you want. So check them out, and they're also giving 20% off to anybody that uses the code RVMILES.
Yep, just go over to rvmattress.com/RVMILES, and you'll get 20% off your order. Now, that was one of the things that we talked about on there, but I think the one that surprised people the most or made them stop that they didn't actually think about was fire extinguishers, and I want to talk about that really quickly, and then we'll move on, and you can go watch the rest if you'd like. But fire extinguishers are incredibly important and worth the upgrade in your RV.
Yeah, most RVs come with a BC fire extinguisher. Fire extinguishers are rated A, B, C, and those are different types of fires. And BC is basically chemical and electrical fires. Does not cover wood and other sorts of combustibles like wood, paper, trash, that sort of stuff. That's an A fire extinguisher. So what you really want to do is get an ABC fire extinguisher, and perhaps several of them to put throughout your RV. We had a good suggestion from a commenter on that video too, to not put your kitchen fire extinguisher. You might want to consider getting a special kitchen fire extinguisher that works great with grease fires. Don't put that under your kitchen sink if that's going to be in the way of you, getting to it. If the fire is going to be in between you and that. So, for instance, in our RV, if we had a fire on our stovetop, it could be very hard for us to get under that cabinet because the fire might be in the way. So consider those sorts of things as well.
If we had a fire.
We should also add that all of these items come from an article that was written for us by our friend Peggy Barthel.
Yes, we should mention that. And we're really excited to have not only Peggy, but Tony
has been writing for us. We have several new writers coming over to the website. There's going to be a lot more written content on the website. In fact, we have a new article that is going out today as we're recording this from Robin Volkening that is campgrounds, RV parks near Yellowstone. So if you really are planning on a Yellowstone trip this summer and you want to look at all the RV park options near the different entrances to Yellowstone, this covers all of them.
She's got 22 of them. I couldn't believe it. I was super impressed. So let's take a little bit of a break. We'll give your voice a little bit of a second. Mine is finally starting to warm up a bit. And when we come back, we are just going to delve into a little bit of personal talk. We're just going to catch up on what's been going on with the two of us over the last few weeks. So we'll be right back.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox has been designing and manufacturing some of the best towing products in the industry. Blue Ox is everywhere. Highways, campgrounds, anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. Blue Ox produces award-winning tow bars and base plates, plus a full line of weight distributing hitches and a new lineup of adjustable ball mounts. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com.
All right, we are back, and we were trying to recall actually where we were the last time we did this podcast, which is really silly to think about, but our location, I think, has changed 3 or 4 times.
We were getting ready to leave Orlando again, which was confusing because we had already left Orlando and went back to Orlando. So we went
back specifically to go to Typhoon Lagoon.
We went to Typhoon Lagoon over at Disney World and had an absolute blast at the water park.
Moly. Listen, if you ever get an opportunity to get a cabana at Typhoon Lagoon with 6, 7, 8, 9 of your closest friends, do it. Do it. It's so much fun. It is so awesome to have a dedicated space like that. It made the day so much easier, and it sort of helps you have a place to get away from the crowds a little bit.
Yeah, you get your own personal server, you get a refillable drink mug, you get a place to sit in the shade, out of any rain, anything like that, and a home base for the kids to know where to come back to. What was great about it is we were able to just let the kids run free there and not have to worry about following them around too much, although we lost one. We thought we lost a kid, but we did. But we just really ran around looking for a kid who knew exactly where he was.
Wouldn't be. Yeah, he went off with his older sibling and friend. It wouldn't be a trip to any type of Disney World location if we didn't lose a child.
But
so
we were preparing very quickly to leave Disney World and Orlando, and we were traveling with some friends, as we have been quite a bit throughout the South here, and we actually departed on Easter. We did a whole Easter morning, and we were heading out on Easter, and we're trying to get out of Orlando, and we have talked, I think, a little bit about what we think about Orlando traffic. I don't know that we have, because most of it began with this. maybe, you know what, I think I may have shared my thoughts as a story on Instagram, and the response, I think there were over 1,000 responses to our dislike for Orlando. I'm sorry, Orlando, but y'all now officially hold the trophy, the scepter, whatever we want to call it, as worst place to drive your RV ever. You have dethroned Dallas. It's rough. It's rough. It is rough. And it's rough without the instance that it's rough without the story we're about to tell. Yes. So we leave the campground that we were at, which was the Sherwood Forest RV Park in Orlando, and we head out and get maybe 13 miles out, not much at all. We're barely out, and the traffic is real bad, and we're following behind our friends, and as we're driving through downtown Orlando, a it happens so quickly. But what happened, I guess, was in the lane next to us, the lane to the left of us, somebody slammed on their brakes. And the person behind them slammed on their brakes. And the person behind them maybe wasn't paying close enough attention. And he tried to swerve one way, then tried to swerve back the other, and it became this giant fishtail thing.
Pong.
He bounced off a car in the far left lane into our friend's RV.
Yeah, and he just barely, again, because it was like watching ping pong, and he just pinged off of them, and they almost didn't know that they had been hit. Like, that's how kind of quick and sudden everything was. And I don't know how we escaped any of this. Somehow we managed, they happened to be a few cars up ahead of us, which is probably why we escaped it. We had gotten a little separated. And they, in the end, ended up having quite significant damage to their rig. The guy that was ping-ponging had lost the entire front end of his car.
We stopped with him.
Yes.
And got all of his information, and then he had hit somebody else who was across the highway with kids,
children in the car,
and a huge dent in the rear door, and they must have been frightened.
And our friends, they're further up ahead because, we're also in this strip of a highway going into downtown Orlando where the shoulder is pretty non-existent. I mean, that was the struggle, is then they trying to go forward because their tire had blown, and of course, then there's all that damage from the tire blowing, and then the guy hit them, and he, some sidewall damage, and they're sitting up there, and we're all trying to figure this out and talking to them, Jason's getting information from the motorist, and it just...
And then we decide that we're going to go ahead and find a place that we can, once they're done with the police, that we can get them off the road, maybe to a hotel, even if we're not staying for the night, to get a couple hours there. And we end up driving our RV through downtown Orlando, like city streets. It was such a nightmare.
So at the end of it all, we went back to Sherwood Forest.
They were on an Easter Sunday. They put us in two sites next to each other, brought us back, didn't charge us.
No, we paid for it. So this is, I would like to say thank you to Sherwood Forest, because we did book our sites. Our friends are Thousand Trails members, and they were able to basically extend. We booked ours online quickly, got there because I just booked a night because we weren't really sure what we were all going to do, and we definitely did not want to leave our friends alone dealing with all of this. It's stressful. So the next day, we kind of thought, look, we're gonna stay one more day. And they're going to, get their rig in a safe place that it could travel. Thankfully, the damage was not so to their slide or their sidewall that they couldn't actually travel. They're so fortunate. And I was, going to extend our stay that night. And I went in and I was talking to them and talking to the people at Sherwood Forest and wanting to extend and sharing with them what had happened. And the woman looked at me and she was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. We're going to take care of you guys for the night. You all just figure out what you need to do. And if there's anything we can do to help you, let us know. We're just so thankful that everyone is okay. And I just thought, it was such a simple gesture that actually felt so huge because, we were all kind of like reeling from what had happened and all trying to figure out. We had reservations all over the place and to have someone just say, look, we got this for you guys. You don't have to worry about this.
Yeah.
And so I would like to say thank you to that campground and I would encourage anyone, if you find yourself in that area, to please support them because, they were so kind.
It was also just a really nice place to stay if you want to go to Disney World because it is it is so close.
Yeah. If you're, or even, it can be a great jumping off point for Universal as well too. So we should remind ourselves that there's also Universal.
So we got back on the road the next day. Our friends actually spent that morning. They had an RV tech look at their axle and make sure everything was going to be drivable. They went and got 4 new tires put on because they didn't want to be driving without a spare after they had been hit, just in case there was an axle problem. They covered up anything that might leak because there was a couple of spots where their fiberglass was hit. And we
made our way to Savannah.
We made our way to Savannah.
Had to
drive back through that same part of Orlando again.
That was I will say that once I specifically gave once we knew where we were going and we were on there, I specifically gave myself a little bit of work to do that would keep me from having to look up and feel a little bit anxious, because that traffic is tough and people are very aggressive and they do not. It's interesting to me in a place where there are so many RVs traveling through there, and maybe that's why the locals are just so over it. They do not want anything to do with assisting you and your RV, and they if you need to get over, they're gonna speed up and make sure that it's not going to happen on their watch, and it's it's a little stressful. But we made it to Savannah, and we had a lovely time in Savannah. We're not going to talk too much about that because we actually want to save that for a separate episode, because we were there for almost a week and it was our first time in Savannah, and we were able to go out and do some very Savannah-like things while we were there. So we left Savannah and we did an overnight on our way to Pigeon Forge at a Harvest Host location. It was a brewery, which was an excellent stop on our way to Pigeon Forge, really convenient to the highway and everything. But it said Big Rig friendly, and we definitely tested that for them while we were there. And if you've seen the series of reels that we've put out about it, showing how close the truck was to the big giant tree, how we really had to talk out just exactly how we were going to, because we had to drive in. We couldn't back in.
Yeah, nose first, which is a little hard with the fifth wheel then to get out when you do that.
Yeah, and we had to talk out how to do that. And then when we did finally get out and we're going to leave, we had to navigate a big giant billboard pole and how we were able to get that out. And, but don't let anyone tell you big rigs can't do it. They just have to be a little bit more creative in how we do it. So that was an adventure. We get to Pigeon Forge. We had some more adventures. We were there for a wedding. Your baby brother was getting married. It was absolutely gorgeous.
We're not going to cover our time there in depth on another episode or anything, because we've talked about the area many times in the past. We did get to go to Dollywood, though.
Yeah, I think we should talk about Dollywood for just a hot second, because this was so much fun. Way exceeded my expectations.
Dollywood it's a really good park because it's very clean.
Yes.
It's full of some really great roller coasters.
If you like roller coasters.
One we snuck Abby on that she didn't want to go on.
I will not. It's not going to happen in 2022 that I forgive you, Jenny and Grant, for doing that to me.
This amazing roller coaster. It was not there when we were there last time, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Called the Lightning Rod. We also had little kids then and couldn't really do many of the coasters. I think I did one on my own, but this time we were able to do some. The Lightning Rod is this coaster that shoots up the side of the mountain. So it's a wooden coaster.
And it's meant to be like you're in a hot rod or something, right? Like it's supposed to be like you're in a fast car.
And they use that magnetic power to shoot you up the side of a mountain. But you can't see the full roller coaster. That's from the ground. Until you get up over this small mountain and it's real, then the whole world opens up to you and you see, oh my gosh, what is about to happen to you?
Let's put this into let's set the scene, shall we? So Jason and our 2 friends that were here visiting with us, Jenny and Grant, who I have been friends with since I was 14 years old, they come into town. Jason, Jen, and Grant go to ride this roller coaster. I'm like, no, peace out. I'm actually going to go over here and ride in these little vintage looking cars with the boys that have like the track down the center so you can't get too far off of the road. And I'm going to let Henry drive me at like 5 miles an hour as many times as he wants. That was the level of thrill that I was at. So they go off, they ride, and I had already done one roller coaster so far that day. I did a roller coaster with them. It's kind of the traditional wooden roller coaster right at the beginning of the morning. So I was like, look, I did a roller coaster. I'm awesome. They come off this ride like energized, like teenagers running.
It was amazing. It was so good.
Running up to me. Oh my gosh, Abby, you have to go on this ride. You have to go on this ride with us. Oh my gosh, we gotta go. And I'm like, no, I'm good. No. It's great. You're gonna love it. You're not gonna be scared. It's so great. And I'm looking to my husband, my partner in life, the person that I trust. And I'm like, should I do this?
Yeah,
I
stand by that.
I said, Jason, is this really a ride that you know my level of motion sickness and how I feel about these things?
That was important to me. I did not think you would get motion sickness.
And I said, are you guys being honest? And are you being honest with me? Because
there are no inversions.
Because I have been fooled by this once before. Okay, my brother did this to me years ago when we went to Worlds of Fun, and he took me on a ride where basically all it did was go upside down the entire time, and I thought I was going to lose everything inside my body after I got off of that. So I was like, yeah, I hear you laughing over there. So I trust these humans that I have been friends with for 28 years, that I have been married to.
You're talking this up like there's some punchline that isn't. It was an amazing roller coaster, and we were right.
No, you weren't right. And all of the questions that I asked you, none of you told me the truth. So we get it. We're in line, and I keep sort of like, there's a vibe I'm feeling off of Jason that I'm like, something feels off. And my friend Grant is really insistent that he rides with me, that he needs to be sitting next to me as this is happening. And I'm just like, I'm looking for validation from everybody that I'm not getting like tricked here. And they're all giving it to me. We get on the ride. We sit down. We're strapped in. They're about to send us off. I look behind me over my shoulder at my husband, and he mouths the words, "I'm sorry." And I'm like, what do you mean you're sorry? And I look at my friend, and I'm like, what do you mean? And they all start snickering. They're laughing. And that thing shoots us out, which was fine, shoots us out. But what happens is they had told me, oh, it's just a little drop, like one of those little fake drops, and then another drop. What it is the drop is so steep that you see nothing. You feel like your whole body is falling.
That it is. You feel like you are going so fast on that roller coaster, and it never lets up. It is the greatest roller coaster I've ever been on.
Was so mad at all of you when
we asked you at the end of the day what your favorite thing was, you said the lightning rod.
No. You didn't ask what our favorite thing was. The question was, what was your favorite roller coaster of the day? And I had only been on 2.
Ride.
So
you had been on others.
No, I had only been on 2 roller coasters.
Mine train thing and.
I don't really know that I would call that a roller coaster. It was awful. But I got off of that and I was like, that's it. I'm done for the day. At least I didn't feel like I was going to throw up. And
I knew you wouldn't.
The takeoff is super thrilling and fun. Like I like the idea that like, let's just do this, right? Instead of being like, let's go. Everything else about it, I literally could have left. It
non-stop, fast twists and turns and sideways and so good.
Moral of the story here. Don't ever trust anyone. Doesn't matter if you've known them your whole life. Don't trust them when they tell you that you're going to be okay on a roller coaster.
You were fine.
Don't trust them.
Did you get sick?
I would, if that ride had lasted a little bit longer, because I remember the guy being like, we'll see you in 90 seconds. No, that was the other one. I don't even remember. I just know that if that ride had been just a hair longer, if there had been one more drop, I would have thrown up all over Grant probably. Right. So anyway, that was our time at Pigeon Forge. I guess we could talk about the lawnmower. Just wait till we get to my.
Well, yes. So then we
tank.
we made our way here to where we are now, but in between here and there, we spent
a week in
several
Charlotte.
days in Charlotte and had some cool things and some bad things.
Yeah, the Charlotte is, by the time when we left Pigeon Forge, Jason wasn't feeling well. Like the news video and the Great Smoky Mountains video that we put out, he was starting to decline. By the time when we left on that Monday to go from Pigeon Forge to Charlotte, I kept saying to him, do you need me to extend a day? You don't look like you're feeling good. Should I extend a day? He's like, no, let's go. Let's go. I'm ready to go. And I'm like, okay. By the time we got here to Charlotte, that man had enough energy in him because he had worked so hard to safely get us there. He had enough energy in him to back that RV up into its space for me to open the bedroom slide and for him to go climb into bed, because by that time he was running 102.6 fever. And that was how the whole rest of the week went for him.
But we had a fun incident when we were that we found out about when we were packing up on our way to head out of Pigeon Forge and on the way there. And we're going to talk about all of that in our Fresh Tank
Black Tank. So let's do that right now. And we'll be back shortly to talk about the rest of our adventures.
Be right back.
Electrical surge protection is one of the cheapest insurance policies you can provide for your RV, and the Power Watchdog Smart Surge Protector, made by Hugest Autoformers, beats the competition with field replaceable surge modules. With other brands, when the surge protector takes a large surge or a spike, you have to throw it away. The Power Watchdog can be brought back to life with one small affordable part you can replace yourself. They'll even give you a free surge module in the first 2 years, and now have a limited lifetime warranty. Use the coupon code RVMILES, all one word, for 10% off your order at HughesAutoformers.com. That's code RVMILES for 10% off at HughesAutoformers.com.
It is time to check the level of our tanks. We are going to start with you, Jason. Jason, what is in your black tank this week?
My black tank is the fact that I, got bacterial pneumonia. And,
Shocking.
And, that's been its own thing for the past week and a half or so now. And I want to thank the fantastic people at the whatever medical center I was at in Charlotte. I don't remember what it's called, but it was nice. They're good people, and they
I don't remember what hospital we went to.
They dealt
Pine
with it
Hill?
expediently.
Yeah, they're very kind.
They were great people, and I'm feeling much better now, and hopefully continue to do so. But that's never fun.
No, but if I can say that the silver lining in the black tank of all of that was that for the first several days, until under medical advice, it was time now for us to take you to the hospital because your fever had gone on long enough. For the first several days, we didn't know if it was bacterial or viral. And so we were having to keep you quarantined.
Yeah, we assumed it was COVID, and
we did,
or that it could be,
or the flu, or something along that. But what was tough was you were not presenting any symptoms. Up until the day he dropped into bed on a Monday, we took him to the hospital on a Thursday. Up until we took him to the hospital on a Thursday, he showed no other symptoms outside of aches and a fever. So everyone I talked to, any sort of research I was doing about any kind of illness, pneumonia was not ever once popping up because he had not begun to present the most significant and obviously the pneumonia. But that was the problem with a COVID diagnosis. That was the problem with anything. I was struggling to find a test anywhere, so that we could kind of find out what was going on. So
I eventually did take a COVID test, and it came back
We all did.
negative.
We all did. The kids loved it.
But I was quarantining back in our bedroom the whole time, basically.
So it was 3.5, almost 4 days that we didn't see him. But as much as I really hated hearing that you had this bacterial thing again now settling into your lungs, at least we knew that the rest of the family, we weren't on like illness watch now. Okay, we knew now we're going to get these antibiotics. Yeah. We know what they're going to do, and we know what we need to do for you. And so there was this level of relief that went with that. So, and you're on the mend. So thank goodness for medication. What is in your fresh tank this
So
week.
while I'm, having these crazy fever roller coasters,
So tough.
I'm trying, for the first couple of days, I couldn't watch TV, basically. It was just even annoying to look at a TV. And then I started watching a bunch of TV. And I one of the first things I watched was The Godfather. And
I came in the bedroom and I was like, he's watching The Godfather.
this is such a mistake, because then I started having these fever dreams of, like, there's this scene where the guy is like rehearsing what he's going to say to the Godfather, and he's really nervous about what he's going to say to the Godfather at the wedding.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Sorry,
so
I've never
there's
seen them.
a scene where the guy's rehearsing what he's going to say to Brando, and he's so nervous about it. And so then I had these fever dreams of, like, rehearsing what I'm going to say to the Godfather.
Do you
And they were
recall any of the lines?
It was the same thing. It was what he was saying. It was the same thing and it was over and over and over again all night long that night. But the reason I wanted to watch The Godfather is I wanted to watch this new series that's streaming on Paramount Plus that is the making of The Godfather, which is so good. I'm 4 episodes in. They're releasing it 1 week at a time, so that's as far as I can be at this point. But it is sort of like a mini series, right, about the making of The Godfather, and it is every bit as dramatic as The Godfather itself is. Like,
so can I just watch that and then I don't ever have to watch the Godfather movies?
No, it does not work that way.
It doesn't work like that.
It's it's like the casting of Brando and Pacino, and it's the mob not wanting the film to be made, Sinatra not wanting the film to be made. Paramount was about to go under, and they needed a hit, and all these things conspired. And it barely got made, and it's really cool to see how the true story of how it happened. And the cast of this show is phenomenal. The cast is a whole bunch of...
Sorry, there's a bumblebee, like, aggressively...
They don't even have a stinger.
You're
fine.
What is it with flying things while we're trying to record?
It's just a cute little bee. Anyway,
I've seen Transformers.
Check out The Offer on Paramount Plus. It's also, Paramount does this thing because not enough people have Paramount Plus, where you can also get Paramount Plus stuff on Amazon. I
was about to ask you. I was like, we have Paramount Plus.
Apparently. But here's the other thing, though. This goes back to the black tank. I'm reverse engineering a black tank here.
Okay.
Out of this, however, is apparently we are paying for Paramount Plus. I don't know who signed up for that. It wasn't me. You're the one that signs up for all streaming services.
Wow.
But we're paying for Paramount Plus. But I'm also watching ads while watching The Offer on Paramount Plus.
Maybe it's like just a free version.
It's not.
I think I need to look into that. I think we're done with Paramount Plus. I don't even know why.
When the series is over, we're done with Paramount Plus.
No. Can't you just watch it on Amazon?
What is in your black tank this week?
So my black tank, we're gonna go back in time, and we're gonna go back to Pigeon Forge. We're gonna go back to that KOA for a second, because the day that we were leaving on Monday, we are packing up outside, and Jason comes to the door. I can't. It's like I know the minute he comes to the door. I've seen the look on that face a lot over 6 years, and he says, somebody hit us. And I'm thinking somebody hit the truck, because the sites are small and the truck was, as close as we could get it into our site, but it was still pretty close to the road. And I'm thinking somebody hit the truck. I'm like, what do you mean? Okay. I follow him outside. He takes me around to the driver's side of the fifth wheel to the living room side on the driver's side. And the bottom piece of trim has a very, very deep dent.
It is just mangled.
Like just something heavy and moving at a rapid speed slammed into it.
And it to the point where we wouldn't be able to close the slide.
No. And this is a very small section of our campsite between us, because it's the driver's side where all the hookups are, and we had neighbors. So there's no way that, a car did this.
It's too high.
Too high, right? Like, we're standing there, and it dawns on me, like light bulb, bing. And I went, it's the lawnmower. It's the lawn. They were mowing on Monday. We arrived on a Monday. That next day we were at the campsite, and they were doing lawn care all over the place. I said, it's the lawnmower. A lawnmower hit us. I'm positive. So
I don't know why you're saying all this, because when I came to the front door, I was like, Abby, a lawnmower hit us.
No, you were not. That is not at all what you said. You literally just said somebody hit us.
Anyway, the lawnmower,
I love how all of a sudden you're like the Sherlock Holmes and I'm your Dr. Watson.
Abby had them bring the lawnmower over so we could take pictures of it.
Well, yeah, because we called and I said, we called up to the front and I said, could we please get a manager? Could a manager please come down? Because we believe that one of your lawnmowers hit our fifth wheel. And so a gentleman did come down, and he was very nice, and he was looking at it, and he kind of, kind of was confirming that that's what he thought it was. But at the same time, nobody really wants to take responsibility. And they were going to fill out an accident report. And I said, I advocated very hard that you need to bring this lawnmower down here, and I want it put up against the fifth wheel. And I would say, if you ever find yourself in a campsite and something like that happens where you think that there was a piece of machinery that the campground was using that would damage your rig, do not just take their word for it. Have them bring it down there so that you can have pictures and video for your records, for your insurance. And sure enough, he brings, first off, it's a giant riding lawnmower. Why on earth?
These tiny little sites.
Why on earth are they putting this lawnmower between sites? Okay, and it has a giant bar.
Like a roll bar. So if it were to roll over,
right,
the driver would be protected.
That's how big it is.
Yeah.
And that roll bar is what smashed into our fifth wheel.
And they probably didn't even notice it happening because it was so loud and all that sort of stuff.
But why on earth, Pigeon Forge KOA? First off, most of these sites are dirt anyway. Why are you using this giant lawnmower? This is going to cost you now, because now there's a claim out there. We have to have an adjuster come.
As a matter of fact, I just got off the phone with their insurance company. KOA is taking care of it.
And they are. And once that got brought over, that's when they could no longer be like, oh, okay. It was, yes, 100%. Because we backed that lawnmower right up to where the dent was, and that roll bar fits perfect.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, but we had to take a wrench, and we had to really try to straighten out that trim as much as we could, because we couldn't get our slide closed. We couldn't, and poor Jason is sick, getting sicker and sicker, and we didn't realize. But I'm just black tanking it, because it still blows my mind that they're using that lawnmower on those sites. And I remember thinking that earlier that week when I saw it out and about, I was like, why are they using it? That lawnmower is huge. What are they doing? Well, they proved me. Anyway.
What's in your fresh tank this week?
So my fresh tank is, again, one of the cool reasons why we were in Charlotte. This was a trip to make good on a birthday gift that we had bought for Jack last year, actually. And that was to take him to see the band AJR at the PNC Pavilion there in Charlotte. We bought these tickets for him last year, knowing that we would be in the area because of the wedding. And so he and I, on Mother's Day, went to see AJR in concert, and it was one of the best concerts I've ever been with. Jack didn't know what to do with me, because we both, he and I both genuinely love, AJR. Our whole family does. We're huge fans of this band. And so as much as this was a gift for him, he and I, the whole week, we were so excited. And that they start playing. I can't describe it. It was like, I haven't been to a live show, and I used to go to live shows all the time, especially in my 20s and before I had kids. I hadn't been to a live show in so long, and there is an energy in a live show especially when it's a band that you just love so much and they start playing those songs that you have sung 1,000 times, you can't not just be so happy and joyful and singing at the top of your lungs and dancing around with everybody around you and up on your feet. And it was, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. But I remember he looked at me at one point and he was like, where's Abigail and what have you done with her? And I said, this is your mom at a concert, dude. I was like, this is the best.
Happy birthday. It also happened to be Mother's Day too, so.
Yeah, but if you get a chance to go and see this band or you've not checked out their music, I highly encourage you. And another thing I really loved about this too was that there was a woman who was clearly in her 80s. There were several, the generations that were at this show, that there was 8,000 people. There were babies and ergos. There were older generations in wheelchairs. There were young people. There were parents. Everyone was there. It was great. It was so much fun.
All right. Well, on that note, I think that's it for this week's episode.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. And before we go off, we're not going to, do our normal sort of head over to Amazon or the 5-star review, because what we want to say at the end of this show is thank you. Thank you to all of you who left messages, who have been so supportive over these few weeks. We had scheduled to take that week off in Pigeon Forge. That was scheduled for the podcast. What followed was not. And so many of you have just really sent such good energy out into the world for Jason and really given us the space we needed for him to heal. But I would also like to say thank you to those who sponsor this show as well, and for your support as we needed to step back and your understanding in that. And, we're so thankful to work with you as well to produce this show every single week. So thank you, everyone. We look forward to coming back and being on a more regular schedule. But until then, please stay healthy, please stay well, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.